Tonight's horror double bill starts with The Body Snatcher.
Now I can't get the dog to leave here.
That's followed at 11:40 by Theatre of Blood, in which a mad Shakespearean actor seeks his revenge on the leading drama critics of London. Tonight's horror double bill starts at 10:30 on BBC2.
Hey guys! Today I'm doing part 7 of the horror double bill seasons. And this was the penultimate season from 1981. It lasted 8 weeks, so I'll be going through 16 films and I'll be picking if I like the first film better than the second film, just for a bit of fun, because I've got a theory that the second film's always the best. So this season was an unusual one. The first film's always a Val Lewton produced film from the 1940s. He did a lot of films for RKO, 3 of which star Boris Karloff. So week 1 was a very close one. The first film's I Walked With a Zombie from 1943, and the second film's Zoltan, Hound of Dracula from 1977. So I Walked With a Zombie, it's a Val Lewton produced film, directed by Jack Tenor. He's a famous director who also made Night of the Demon. So this film's all about voodoo rituals. When I was a kid I was a bit disappointed because of the title I Walked With a Zombie. I was expecting a kind of George Romero type of zombie film. So like a lot of Val Lewton films, it's a slow burner. It takes a long time to get going. And I always remember a good photo of this film in a book called The Pictorial History of Horror Movies that I used to have as a kid. And I always wanted to watch it, but I was disappointed when I did get to watch it. However, the second film, Zoltan, Hound of Dracula, it's also known as Dracula's Dog. I was really excited watching this as a kid. It's a strange film about a dog getting bitten by a vampire, and it turns into a vampire dog. It's fun but not great. However, I loved the ending as a kid. Like the final shot, you see the dog and its eyes glowing. I thought that was an excellent ending to the film. I was all hyped up as a kid watching it. So out of these 2 films, give it to Zoltan, Hound of Dracula, because it's a 1970s colour film involving vampires, and you can't go wrong with that. So that's the first film 0, the second film 1. Week 2 had The Cat People from 1942, and the second film was Mystery of the Wax Museum from 1933. And Cat People's one of the most famous of the Val Lewton films. It had a sequel called The Curse of the Cat People from 1944 that's on later this season, and it also had a remake in 1982. And it's also directed by Jack Tenor again, and it was a massive hit for RKO Studios. It's all about a woman who turns into this killer feline panther thing whenever she's aroused. And it's subtle horror. There's a good jump sequence involving the sound of a bus. You think this woman's going to get attacked, but it isn't, it's the bus. So it's great direction, and it was a massive hit at the time. The second film, Mystery of the Wax Museum from 1933, it stars Lionel Atwill, and it's a 2-colour Technicolor film, and it was remade in 1953 called House of Wax, starring Vincent Price. But this one's pretty good. There's some eerie shots, and wax dummies always look a bit creepy. I've been in wax museums at Blackpool, and even the normal looking waxworks are creepy, and that's before you get to the Chamber of Horrors. However, out of these 2 films, I've got to give it to Cat People. It's one of the main films that Val Lewton produced. So that's the first film 1, the second film 1. Week 3 had The Seventh Victim from 1943, followed by Race with the Devil from 1975. So both of these films are linked. They're all about satanic cults. The Seventh Victim was directed by Mark Robson, and it's about a young woman searching for a missing sister but she stumbles on a devil worshipping cult. And this is Kim Hunter's first appearance on screen. And I like films involving satanic cults because there's a possibility it could happen. However, the second film, Race with the Devil, I've reviewed on the channel. I think that's brilliant. One of the best films made from the 70s. It stars Peter Fonda and Warren Oates. It even has hot lips out of MASH. It's about these group of 4 people who are in a mobile home. And when they park, they say, sacrifice one night. This girl getting sacrificed near a fire. The devil worshippers see them and they're chasing after them. And it's kind of like a road movie. But it has a terrific ending. Really downbeat. You think they've got away, but the last shots, there's like a ring of fire around the motorhome. I thought that was a brilliant ending. And it has lovable characters. You really get into the 4 characters who were in the mobile home. That makes the ending much more like disturbing because you want these characters to get away. So I've got to give it to Race with the Devil.
I sure think they killed her.
Back! Frank, they've seen us.
And get trapped in an unbelievable nightmare.
Turn off the light!
Why? What's wrong? What are you guys up to?
So that's the first film 1, the second film 2. Week 4 had Isle of the Dead from 1945 and The Crazies from 1973. So Isle of the Dead has Boris Karloff, and this film actually has a creepy atmosphere to it. It's all about an evil force that takes human form. And Karloff's excellent as usual in this film. He made 3 for Val Lewton. However, the second film, The Crazies, that's directed by George A. Romero, and he's one of my favourite horror directors. I love his zombie films, especially the first 3 that he did, Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead. And this is all about a virus that makes people go insane. And it was remade in 2010. So this is one of his earlier films. It's low budget. Low budget films are actually really good. They have like a rawness to them. Makes a horror more sort of like realistic in a way. So I've got to give it to The Crazies.
There's something that dements.
So that's the first film 1, the second film 3. Week 5 had Bedlam from 1946 and Bug from 1975. So Bedlam, it's got Boris Karloff again, and this is actually the last film that Val Lewton made for RKO. And it's sort of like historical. It's set in 1761 and it's set in an asylum. Boris Karloff's on top form again. Gives good performances in these Val Lewton films. Whereas Bug from 1975, that's a film about mutant cockroaches that can create fire. It was written by William Castle, and it's a poor film actually. Bad, it's one of them bad films. Out of this, I've definitely given it to Bedlam.
But the rest, what will they do to me? Don't be afraid of their vengeance. They can't think far enough ahead for that. They're lunatics. They've been tried and found incompetent by fair trial.
So that's the first film 2, the second film 3. Week 6 had The Leopard Man from 1943 and The Shuttered Room from 1967. So The Leopard Man's another film directed by Jack Tourneur, and it's based on a book called Black Alibi. And it's about a set of murders that were done in New Mexico town, which coincide with an escaped leopard. And this is actually one of the first American films to portray a serial killer on screen. Whereas the second film's a colour film. It's called The Shuttered Room from 1967. And it's also known as Blood Island. And this is about a house that has dark secrets. And Oliver Reed's in it as well. It's always great to see good old Ollie. And I always remember the beginning of this film, there's a good point of view shot. Something's happening and you're seeing it through the eyes of someone. There's something mysterious about this room. So it's like your typical monster in the attic sort of storyline. But I think it's really good. There's some really effective creepy scenes in this film. So I've got to give it to The Shuttered Room.
And she looks at you like you was dirt about a 30th. Bad cops!
You needed hotter to cleanse your sinful thoughts.
So that's the first film 2, the second film 4. Week 7 had The Curse of the Cat People from 1944 and Eye of the Cat from from 1969. So this is another one of those weeks where the two films are linked, all to do with cats. So The Curse of the Cat People, it's a sequel in a way to Cat People. It's interesting because it's the first film that Robert Wise directs, and he's a brilliant director. He's done some terrific films. He's actually done my favourite horror film, The Haunting. And this film has a lot of the same characters from the Cat People, but it's not really a proper sequel. It's about a girl who befriends a ghost of her father's deceased first wife. And it's an excellent film. In some ways it's better than Cat People. Whereas The Cat, it stars Michael Sarrazin, and it's all about these creepy cats and to do with a wheel, about leaving money to cats. So it's not a very good film. It's not a patch on the first film. So I'm definitely giving this week's to the first film, The Curse of the Cat People.
You couldn't know this woman. She died before you were born. Why did you call her your friend? Answer me, Amy. Why did you call her your friend?
Because she is my friend.
So that's the first film 3, the second film 4. So it all hinges on the last week. Week 8 had The Body Snatcher from 1945, and the second film had Theatre of Blood from 1973. So The Body Snatcher, it's directed by Robert Wise again. It also has Boris Karloff in, who's on top form, and he's also teamed up with Bela Lugosi. However, Bela Lugosi's career was going in decline at this point, whereas Boris Karloff's, it was going up. So Bela's part's not as big as Boris's in this film. It's based on the Robert Louis Stevenson short story, and it's sort of like the story of Burke and Hare. It's a good film, actually, really good. However, it's up against Theatre of Blood, which I've reviewed on the channel. And it stars Vincent Price as an amazing cast, one of the best casts ever. And our class this is Vincent Price's best film. A bit like the Fibes films where he's killing a list of people off, but he's using elaborate deaths. This time it's theatre critics that he's killing off. And the deaths in this film are fantastic, based on Shakespeare's plays. And Vincent Price gives one of his hammiest performances, but he's terrific. And there's a reason why he's hammy, because his character's supposed to be a bad actor. So it makes sense for him to be really over the top and hammy. But it's one of my all-time classic favourite films, so if you want to watch the full review, check it out on my channel. So this final week, I'm definitely giving it to the second film, Theatre of Blood.
No.
Have you learnt your lesson?
Well,
Can I be certain that you will never again offend me?
good.
You're quite right. I can be sure. Detest more. Gorged with the dearest morsel.
So that's the first film 3, the second film 5. So the second film wins once again, but this was very, very close. Probably the closest so far. And watching all these films, I've come to appreciate how good the Val Lewton produced films are. Really brilliant films. So this season was from 1981. And then there was a gap year in 1982. There wasn't a season that year. But I bet a lot of fans were really disappointed that there wasn't a horror double bill. However, it does come back for one final season in 1983. That's based on all the Universal horror films. They're all black and white, that final season. So I've only got one more season to review and then I've completed the whole series. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. See you next time. Like, subscribe and share. Bye everyone. Bye. Bye.
Well, sadly, or perhaps mercifully, it's half rations next week. Just one late movie, but it does again feature Mr. Price, resurrected in Edgar Allan Poe's classic tale of terror, The Mask of the Red Death. 10:15 is the time for that next Saturday here on BBC2. As Edward Lionheart would undoubtedly have put it, parting is such sweet sorrow, but it's what we're about to do just the same, I'm afraid. The time just...